Okay, I'm back. Welcome everybody. I don't know who everybody is. See, I could see how many people are watching. Right now, it's only one. In fact, last time it was also pretty much only one. Now we've got 0. So, if you join the room, you're actually not going to hear me say this because I don't have anybody watching now. But if you join the room, say hello, ask questions. Okay. Now, for all those that are asking, just to clarify, the way I learn the Gemara every day is I do 2 blat. So I do and I overlap. So I'm doing each blat twice. So on day 1, I'll do 1 blat. The next day, I will review that blat and prepare the next blat. So usually, when I prepare the next blat, like the review is actually the much longer part. When I do the blat the first time, it's very precursory, just to understand the big picture, what's happening, the big moving blocks, and then when I learn it the second time, it's more going into detail. So if you would have, you'll notice always the second half of the video, if I even keep doing this on the video, I don't know, not getting great feedback, then you'll notice the second part is a lot quicker. The first part is really much more in depth. Okay, somebody just joined. If you are, man, they left. Sure, it's tough keeping a crowd. Very tough keeping a crowd. Okay. We are up to Daf Lamed Hey. We're going to start right at the bottom of Daf Lamed Hey Amud Beis. Tana Rabbanan, the rabbis taught like this in the Brisa that, by the way, if anybody's asking about this, the sound was not good. So we're going to try with this, see if the sound gets any better. Okay, let's go. Tana Rabbanan, Daf Lamed Hey Amud Beis. For those that are following inside, 1, 2, 3, 6 lines from the bottom. Tana Rabbanan, that Arayos, forbidden relationships, and secondary forbidden relationships, which the Gemara will explain exactly what those are, they don't get a knas, which means generally the din is if you rape a woman, if you rape a virgin, you have to pay knas. You have to marry her and you have to pay the knas. And the say is somebody who was a young girl. She was married as a young girl, and then she refused to marry when so it was a rabbinic marriage, and then she refused to marry when she became older. Ain't no knas, she doesn't have a knas because she is not presumed to be a virgin. Veloi pitui, and there's no din of pitui. So the knas for raping and pitui is for seduction. There's no knas on either of those two. A wife who left her marriage because of a rumor that was spread about her. Again, if somebody rapes her, she does not get a knas, or there's no dinner, or in a case of rape, or in a case of seduction. Okay, that is the end of the brisa. Ask the Gemara, what does it mean forbidden relationships? And what does it mean secondary forbidden relationships? So, the Gemara's first attempt to answer is, if you're going to say Arayos Mamsh, then Arayos means the forbidden relationships from the Torah, so that would be, immediate relatives, mother, father, well, I'm not going to say mother, father, but mother, sister, daughter, etc. And Shnius means those that are Midivrei Sofrim, those that are forbidden from a rabbinic perspective. Kavon, so the Gemara says that doesn't make sense, because Kavon de Midoraisa Chazalei, since this relationship is fit midoraisa, so Shnius Laharet would be, for example, one's grandmother is actually only Midivrei Sofrim, or for sure, definitely one's great grandmother. It's only also from Rabbanan. So if midoraisa, that marriage is allowed, and mine ain't not knas, why wouldn't it be a knas? The Rabbanan don't have, generally speaking, besides some very rare occasions. But we're going to say over here that Rabbanan don't have the power to take away the knas. In this case, in a case where from midoraisa the marriage would stand. So, Ella. So the Gemara has another answer for what forbidden relationships and what secondary forbidden relationships mean. So, Ella, Arayos means chayv misa based in. Forbidden relationships are those forbidden relationships for which you would be chayv misa based in. And Shnius is Chayav Krisis, and Shnius The secondary ones would be relationships for which you would be chayev kores. Avol chayev lavin, but something that's only a chayev lav. It's only there's no death penalty involved. Then yesh lahem knas. They do have a knas. Just to give an example of different kinds of punishments. So, not different kinds of punishments, but different kinds of ayoris which have different forms of punishment. So, a chayove misa would be somebody who seduces your one's sister. I'm not even sure, actually. Not even sure the specifics of it, but definitely something like chayav lavin would be like a kohen marrying a gerusha or something like that. You're not allowed to do it, but there's no din of mis on it. Okay, or money, and whose opinion is this? This is the opinion of Shimon HaTimni. Okay. Ikatamri, others say as follows, that no, arayos means what does, when the Brisa says what does I would say forbidden relationships means. Chayav Abalo arayos, not to be confused with Mexican arayos, which could be pretty good if you do them right. I actually haven't had ones that I liked, but I feel like people put some herbs in the meat, cilantro or parsley or whatever it is. It's very disgusting. So, just a heads up, if anybody ever gets this far in the video, if you ever invite me over for arayos, don't put herbs in a meat. Just meat, whatever. Put carrot, I don't know, whatever. Anyways, what does the Brisa mean when it says arayos? It means chayav mitzvahs based in, it means both mitzvah based in and relationships for which you get chayav crosses. Shnius, what does a secondary secondary arayos means? That means chayav lavin, those is certain which are chayav lav, and or mani, and whose opinion is this? This is Rabbi Shimon ben Manasseh. This is the opinion of Rabbi Shimon ben Manasseh. Okay. The next statement of the Brisa said that Hamamenes ain't no knas for pitu, that a girl who did miyun, a girl who does miyun. So a girl who does miyun is somebody who was married as a child by her father. If the father died, she's married off by her brother. Then that marriage is only a rabbinic marriage, and when she comes of age, she's able to just do miyun. She's able to just refuse, say, I never wanted this marriage in the first place, and she leaves. There's no get. Okay. Now, this type of person, ain't no knas, v'lo pitoi, doesn't get a knas. There's no knas involved, and no pitoi, again, because we've said that we are under the assumption that she is not a virgin. And, okay. Islam. So what does this seem to apply? This seems to apply that a regular ketana does get, because so let me just rephrase. If a girl has miyun, she has to do miyun when she's a ketana. Once she becomes past the age of age, it's either 12 or 12 and a half, and she stays in the marriage, then she's quote unquote accepted upon herself in the marriage, and that marriage becomes d'oraisa. So miyun you could only do until you become of age. So the fact that the Brisa says that Emamenes doesn't get knas, that means that obviously a regular Tana does get a knas. Okay, mani. So whose opinion is this? This is the opinion of Rabbanan here. It's the opinion of Rabbanan. The Amri Tana yesh lo knas. The Rabbanan said straight out they have a knas. Hold on, but now I have a question. That Ema Seifa. Let me say that the latter part of this, the end part of the Brisa. What did it say? Ailonis ain't no knas v'lo pitoi, and Ailonis doesn't have a knas, doesn't get knas, and there's no din of pitoi. What's an Ailonis? Ailonis is a woman who is older than the age of she's mature, but she could be she passed the age of 12 and a half. However, she doesn't physically mature, and she doesn't. I think she doesn't grow pubic hairs. Just double check that because I want to make sure that an Alonis is an adult. Yes, Yes, that is the case. By the way, an alonis is somebody who, like, the Gemara considers her technically not able to have children. So she's older, she's an adult, but she hasn't matured. Okay, anyways. Now, the end part of the Brisa says, alonis aino knas, v'loi pitui, right? So also Rabbi Meir. That is the opinion of Rabbi Meir. The Omar, Ktano ein lo knas. And Meir says, a Ktano does not have a knas. Vaha, and this girl who is an alonis, miktanusa yotza leveger. She is basically considered a begera. She's basically considered an adult woman over here. So this seems to have a question, because the first part of the brisa is the opinion of Rabbanon, who say that a ktana has a knas, and the second part of the brisa seems to be Rabbi Meir, who holds that a ktana does not have a knas. So, whose opinion is it? So the Gemara says we could just say that maybe Reish Rabbanon, the first half is Rabbanon, the Sefer Rabbi Meir, and the second part is Rabbi Meir. By the way, it's very rare, not very rare, but the Gemara doesn't generally like this. The Gemara generally likes to find authors that the whole Mishnah is really one author, just better for the flow. I mean, the Gemara really does come. Sometimes the answers that the Gemara comes up with is really, really ludicrous and out of this world. But for some reason, the Gemara often can't accept that a brisa is half the opinion of one person, half the opinion of another person. So anyways, that is one way of looking at it. Now, the Gemara tries to say like this. Hold on. Maybe I could say that the whole thing is Rabbi Meir. So like Rabbi Yehuda. In the case of Miyun, he holds like Rabbi Yehuda. I'm not quite sure how that will help, so bear with me. Okay, so Rabbi Yehuda actually holds, and we'll see how this makes sense in just a minute, but it seems like Rabbi Yehuda holds that a ktana yesh lo knas, and even a naira. Okay. The question is, we're going to be discussing. Okay. Until what stage could a naira do miyun? Sorry, until what stage? Sorry, there's three stages of a girl's maturity. There is the stage of ktana, which is generally until the ages of 12. Then there is a stage of naira, which is between the ages of 12 to 12 and a half. And then there is a Bogeres, and she is from the ages of 12 and a half and above. So, we have the Gemara asks, there is a conversation, there is a discussion, how long, until what age could you do mian until? So, let's actually do that. Okay, we'll just go over there and then we'll come back. Until when could a girl do miyun? Until she develops 2 hairs. Once you develop 2 hairs, which is generally we consider the same consistency of turning the age of 12, then you become quote unquote an adult, and then by staying in the marriage you have agreed, and then your marriage becomes a full-fledged real marriage. These are Rabbi Meir. Rabbi Yehuda says, Ad sheyirbe shacher al halavan. I will read the English translation of this. I'll translate it literally in English. Until the black is more than the white. which is basically saying it's a little bit of an old age instead of just 2 hairs. It's, I don't know who my viewers are. I don't know who viewers are going to be, so I have to be a little bit refined. So until she's got there's more hair than more hair in the area than less hair in the area. There's some significant level of bush going on. So, which is a little bit older than 12, which is more like in the area of 12 and a half. So Rabbi Meir holds that. So we wanted to say that where in the Mishnah, where in the Brisa says that a moment is saying Knas, it doesn't prove that a Ketana also ain't Knas, because we could be talking about a Momenes who is older than the age of 12. So the reason why the Momenes doesn't have the Knas is, we could say, because she's older than the age of 12. So, okay, but that's saying that Rabbi Meir holds like Rabbi Huda. But we just brought this brisa which says, it clearly shows that Rabbi Meir and Rabbi Huda argue. Rabbi Meir clearly says that you could only do miyun until the age of 12. So we can't go and say that the first part of the brisa is Rabbi Meir. Okay. Hello, Rabbi Huda. So now I'm going to say, okay, fine. The brisa can't be the opinion of Rabbi Meir. Maybe the brisa is the opinion of Rabbi Huda. Hello, Rabbi Huda. Maybe it's the opinion of Rabbi Huda. That a naira, that even when a girl becomes a naira, she could still do miyun of a ketana, so like Rabbi Meir. That and with regards to a ketana, he holds like Rabbi Meir that she can't get a knas. So the reason why the brisa, if you're holding like a ketana a ketana doesn't get knas, and momenes also doesn't get knas, and the reason why it's not the same thing as a ketana, because according to Rabbi Huda, you could have a momenes who is an naira. Okay. Umi savelo. Does he really hold like that? Rabbi Meir. Rabbi Huda, we said Rabbi Huda said never Rav that Rabbi Meir. This is opinion of Rabbi Meir. And if it was true that Rabbi Huda would hold that a ketana holds like Rabbi Meir, also that ketana can't get a knas, the Mishnah, the Mishnah should have said, or Rav should have said, sorry, Zudi Rabbi Meir, Rabbi Huda, it should have said there's a opinion of Rabbi Huda and Rabbi Meir. Okay, it's a little bit weak, but we'll accept that. So we're saying it can't be the opinion of Rabbi Huda either. Okay, and therefore we said this. And therefore, whoever made this brisa, he holds like Rabbi Meir in one regard. In the regard that a ketana does not get knas, and therefore he says Bulgaris doesn't get knas. Or and he argues with him in another regard by saying that a Bulgaris, by saying a ketana, by saying a naira can't do miyun. Okay. Rav From's coming around and he's giving another answer. My momenes. What does it mean when the bride said momenes? A girl who could do miyun, i.e. a ketana. If so, velisni ketana. If so, just teach me ketana. Where it says kasha. Taka, it is a question. Okay. Next part of the brisa said, "Ailonis ain't no knas v'lo pitui." The next part of the brisa said that an ailonis is a woman who is over the age of 12, and over the age of 12 and a half in age she is over, but however in body maturity she is not. Ain't no knas v'lo pitui. She doesn't get the din of knas or the din of pitui. It's just okay. By the way, I'm using a lot of Hebrew words, but quite consistently. So, and I try to explain those words in the beginning. But if you join late, or if you ever have a question, what does any of the words mean? Feel free to ask in the chat. It's very, I love the chat's a bit quiet. I just got a nice shirt compliment. That's all I got. It's pretty weak. But anyways, okay. So, or mini, I'm going to ask a challenge. I'm going to ask a question. It says, another Mishnah, the Mishnah said, Brisa said that a chareshes, a woman who's a deaf mute, and a shoiter, a woman who is shoiter, halachic definition of a shoiter, and aloinis. So actually, just going back, these women generally can actually not. Well, actually, they're not all in the same category. But a shoiter, I think she can marry, she can't get divorced. Anyways, never mind. Not for now. Nothing more. Okay. These people, yesh lehem knas, the yesh lehem tiny psulim. They have the right to a knas if they were violated, and the yesh lehem tiny psulim. They also have a claim of if they lost their virginity. Okay. Tiny Basulin is that if you get married, if a man gets married, and the next day he finds that she is not a virgin, so he goes to Beis Din and he could claim her not to be a virgin, and they could they do whatever they do. They could annul the marriage. I think actually she becomes. But yeah, they could. Okay, so they can annul the marriage. They could change the ksuba if she wasn't if she lost her virginity while she's already engaged to him, then she's going to be chayav misa, etc., etc. Okay, now there are certain women who don't have tinus basulin. They are automatically presumed to not be a basula. So, for example, a woman who was taken captive. Or somebody girl who converted. These people, they don't have tinus basulin. They are automatically assumed not to be virgins, and even if they're going to say I'm a virgin, you can't. The husband can't come later on and say that I am not. That they weren't virgins. Okay. Anyways, these three cases: the chareshes, the shoita, and the alonis. They do not have tinus basulin. This price says they do have tinus basulin. So they have a knas and they have tinus basulin. I don't even know why I got into that, because we focused on the first part that yesh lem knas, because our price before said alonis ain't not knas, doesn't get knas, and here we're saying that alonis does get knas. So why is this even a question? This price is. The first price we learned before is the opinion of Rabbi Meir, and this one is the opinion of Rabbanan. So the guy who came and asked the question, why did he even come and ask the question? Because I'm not quite sure. Just because he found the price, I think that's what it's saying, which is quite strange. Oh no, I misunderstood that. Because he's got to have his questions coming up. We're not discussing the part of Knas. We're not discussing the contradiction of Knas, because that's an easy answer. He actually has another problem. By the way, special product placement. I was in the store yesterday. I love buying new foods, and I was in the store yesterday. I saw this really cool candy, Warhead sour watermelon. I love sour stuff. I was like, oh wow, that looks interesting. And then I saw that even had an OU. So get to try this. It's like toothpaste. The texture. Anyways, find the product, my link in the bio. As I say. Okay. What's this guy's question? This guy's question is as follows. That Hachareshes Fashoyta Bageres and Mugatzait Hachareshes Shoyta, a Bageres. Bageres is somebody of the age of 12 and a half and a Mugatzait. Somebody who was a Mugatzait in the Gemara. The way the Gemara describes it, in plain English, it means a girl who used a dildo. Take you back to the times of the Gemara when they had very, very different perceptions of men and women. Very different perceptions of women. But the idea is that the Gemara basically explains that it's very possible that a girl was injured by a piece of wood. A piece of wood went up her vagina and ruptured her hymen, and because of that, she's like, oh, I'm not a basula anymore, or I'm not going to bleed anymore because of that. So that's a claim that a girl has. So the Gemara finds a very clean way of describing that process by using the word mukatzait, injured by a tree. Okay. Anyway, it says the Gemara, Einam Tainus Basulin, they do not have Tainus Basulin. However, Hasuma Vailoinis Yesh Lahem Tainus Basulin. They do not, a blind person and Laloinis, they do have Tainus Basulin. Sumcha Zomar Mishum Rabbi Meir. Sumcha says in the name of Rabbi Meir that Suma ain't no Tainus Basulin. The Suma does not have Tainus Basulin. Okay. So what's the question? The question is, in our first brisa, it said Ailoinis does have Tainus Basulin. Sorry. The first brisa said Chereshes and a Shoite has Tainus Basulin. And the second brisa said Chereshes and a Shoite ain't not Tainus Basulin. So Amar of Sheshes, like Kasha of Sheshes says, it's not a question. Hi Gamliel, this is the opinion of Rabbi Gamliel. Hi Rabbi Shua, this is the opinion of Rabbi Shua. Brisa, okay. The first brisa is the opinion of Rabbi Gamliel, and the second brisa is the opinion of Rabbi Yeshua. Okay. What is the opinion of Rabbi Gamliel? So Rabbi Gamliel says that if a guy marries his wife and he finds her not to be a basula, and she claims that she was violated after Kiddushin, okay, so she's believed and she doesn't lose her ksuba. So if she was violated before Kiddushin, which means this guy already married the Pu'ula, he should only have to pay $100 on the ksuba. But since it happened after Kiddushin, he was already married to her, or married to her in a certain sense, and therefore, and then she was violated, she was raped, it wasn't consensual. Afterwards, too bad to the guy, and she's entitled to her full $200 200 zuz. I don't know, I'm tired. Money. I don't know. Zuz. 100 zuz, 200 zuz. I think it's zuz. Okay. So, we're going to say the same thing over here that Rabbi Gamliel is saying that the Charishis, the Shoite, and the Begeres, that not the Begeres, but the Chareishis and the Shoita, technically they could be also say that claim that they were violated after the Kedushin. So the Gemara, hold on. When Rav Gamliel say Heichel the Taina, which actually physically says that Taina. When does Rav Gamliel believe her? When it comes out that she wasn't Basula, and she says, "Well, yeah, you're right. I was violated after Kedushin." If she's not making that claim, mi shomat le. How could you say that that's the opinion of Rav Gamliel? Just to clarify, the reason why we would say that a Chareishis and a Shoita don't get Tainus Pesulin is because a Chareishis, she's deaf mute, she can't communicate. So she wouldn't be able to communicate whether she's a Pesula or not. And therefore she's assumed not to be a Pesula. And the same thing with a Shoita. A Shoita is deranged, so she's not mentally competent. So again, we don't hold her with the chazak of being a psula. So, anyways, going back to our question. So we said, I could understand Rav Gamliel said in a regular case because the girl's actually making that claim, but over here she's not making that claim. She said, well, I said no, ain't taka, yeah. Rav Gamliel says that taka she would be believed if she said such a case. These two cases will be considered. Open your mouth for the mute. This is a pasuk in Mishlei. Speak on somebody's behalf. You see a friend who's suffering, help him out. You see, whatever, okay. You see somebody in the store being abused, either a worker or somebody in the line, or you're in the airport, you see the police pulling somebody over, whatever it is. See something, say something. But anyway, not the point. In these cases, we will make that claim for her, and therefore they do have Tainus Pesulin. Okay. Habegeres ain't law Tainus Pesulin. The Gemara said Habegeres does not have Tainus Pesulin. A Begeres is a mature woman over the age of 12 and a half. The reason why she doesn't have Tainus Pesulin is because we assume that with her age and purely through physical activities, her hymen at some stage ripped, and therefore when she loses her virginity, she will not bleed. So therefore there is no time. The guy cannot come and say that I didn't find it to be a psula because we say that's very normal. Okay, here is a conflicting opinion. Rav says, Begeres, we give her the entire first night. The din generally is that when it comes to the intercourse on the first night, that there's a lot of discussion surrounding the blood that happens. You know, is it blood blood of Pesula? Is it dam nida, etc., etc. So Rav says that Begeres, she gets to have intercourse the entire first night. Even if she's bleeding, it doesn't matter, it's fine. They could go on the entire first night because we assume that this blood is blood of Besulin, which is not Metame, as opposed to blood of Nida. Now, what does this prove? This proves that a Begeres does have blood, or does have, right, as opposed to we said that a Begeres doesn't have Tainus Pesulin because she doesn't have a hymen. Rav saying that she does. So Idikar, so the Gemara says, no, Idikar Tainus Domim. If he was being Taina, if the husband, when he said that the Begeres ain't like Tainus Pesulin, depends what he's being Taina. I mean, there's two different Tainas. You could come the next morning, you could come along and say that there was no blood. That's option A. And option B, the next morning you could come and say that Pesach Pasuach, the Gemara finds a very refined way to say that Pesach Pasuach means the door was open. Okay. So the Gemara basically holds that in a case of Begeres, that her hymen ruptures, some degree. However, she will always still have blood. She's not. It's not going to. So the first time she's intercourse, it shouldn't be Pesach Pasuach. Sorry, and maybe Pesach Pasuach. Okay. So again, what's his claim? Sorry, let's just go back. What is the husband's claim? If he's saying that there was no blood, Taka, he's actually made a good case, and he's got a good child. And over here, when the Brisa said that Avageris ain't law, Tainus Pesulim, what we're talking about, the Kotoin, Tainus Pesach Pesuach, he's saying that Pesach Pesuach was open, and in that case, we don't consider it to be a valid claim. Sumchus said in the name of Rabbi Meir, Summa ain't no Tainus Pesulin. A Summa does not have a Tainus Pesulin. A Summa, blind woman, can't have Tainus Pesulin. Okay. My time with Sumchus, what's the reason of Sumchus? Omar Rav Zera, Mipnei, Sherech Betes al Gabe Karka, she crawls along the ground, and she's got a much higher chance of falling and rupturing her hymen, and therefore you cannot. Therefore, you can't have, the husband can't have a claim of Tainus Pesulim. Okay. Says the Gemara, all girls could fall, and all girls could rupture the hymen by this fall, and therefore, in that going along with that logic, all girls shouldn't have the. They should. You can't have Tainus Pesulim. So he says, all other girls, they'll see blood, and they'll show their mother. This blind girl, she's not going to see, she's not going to show it to her mother. So that all other girls will know what's going on, they know what happened, because they're going to show it to their mothers and they say, oh, your hymen ripped. And then when she gets engaged, she needs to tell her husband that my hymen ripped. So there won't be any claim against her. Okay. Lastly, the Brisa said, that a woman who left her marriage because of a rumor that went out around her, she doesn't get a knas, and she doesn't get the knas in a case of violation or seduction. Hold on, the Gemara asked. Somebody's yotzi mishum sheimra, she gets skila. Why are we talking about she's going to die? Well, what are we talking about over here? This is what the Gemara says. If Shemra went out and when she was a child, in a youth, she doesn't get a knas, and she doesn't get pitu. We learn from here. Okay, so we're talking about when it was in her youth. So therefore, we will automatically assume that she's not a virgin, and therefore the husband marries her, is assuming that she's not a virgin, and therefore he can't come on later on and have Tainus Pesulim. Okay. We learn from this that you cannot collect a debt from a suspicious document. Okay, how do we learn from this? We'll see that in a second. Well, not how do we learn from it. Just like we said that somebody's Yotzim Shum Shema, we assume that these rumors that are going around, that she doesn't have tiny Pasulim, we go with those rumors. So too, when it comes to Ishtar, if there's rumors going around that it's suspicious, we're not going to use it to collect a debt. Okay, but then we're going to quantify it a little bit further. Hey, Chidomi, what specific scenario we're talking about here? If you're going to say that a rumor circulated about it, to start the Zayfor he that it is a forged document. And the corresponding over here would be that a rumor circulated that she was gone around the block. How could we kind of learn from there? Didn't Robert say if the reputation if there is just some reputation that this woman was mazana, we don't pay heed to that. Just because there's a rumor going around, we don't listen to it. Hello, the also Beit Yev Omri, we're talking about a case where two men came and said, Ledidui Teva Asnahi, that she propositioned herself to us. And their corresponding case would be over here in the case of the shtar, that we would say that also Beit Yev, two people would come and say Ledidu Amarlu Zaifuli, the holder of the document came and asked him that he should forge a document for him. Okay. So says the Gemara, over there was over there the case of the Moisi Shemra, that even though these two people saying that we didn't do it, it's not hard to imagine that down the line, man number 3 and 4 actually did agree to do it. So if a woman's going around and 80 are coming and saying that yes, she propositioned herself to us, it's very probable to say that she found people to be propositioned to. Okay, Elahocha over here, Im Huruchsak. If over here, are we going to say that Im Huruchsak, if this guy is established to be a seeker of forged documents, are we going to assume that he found forgers? Me, call yourself me Huruchsaku. Are we going to be Huruchsak that he eventually went and found two Jews that were able, that actually forged it? Obviously not. Hachenami. So we say we had as follows. No. That Kevin the Karma had as if since we have Edim that testifying that he was looking for a forgery, because we could say he just forged it himself. So you're right, we're not going to project the fact that he found false witnesses on everybody, but we could definitely say there's a high chance that he himself just went and did it. Okay, up to the Mishnah. And always when you get to the Mishnah, it's a sign of relief, because all that the Gemara you have to halt cop. You have to remember, right? So okay, we're always going to come back. We're always going to discuss it, and it's always a question answer. But it's not. It's all the same topic. It's all continued training. Once you get to Mishnah, close the book. Forget everything you learned. Forget everything you just had to remember. What Rabbi Meir holding, what Rabbi Shimon holding that brisa, and what was brought down from the other Gemara. It's done. Close that. New Mishnah, clean slate. Okay. Velo sheinem knas, and these are the people that do have a knas. Sorry. So velo sheinem knas. These are the ones that don't have a knas. If you violate a convert or a captive, a former captive, or a former slave, or a slave, Shenifto, a former slave, right? Shenifto v'nishtachlu, you say to us, al b'noi shal, you say yours, al b'noi shalosh shanam yom echad, who are less than, sorry, who are over the age of 3, okay, who are over the age of 3, because if they were under the age of 3, we hold, the word holds that Basulos Chosers. Okay. Shuvu Yoshiniptis Hari, he Biktusha Seh, Biktusha Avapishi Godlo. Sorry, Rabbi Huda says that the Shuvya, Sheniftis Hari Biktusha, a captive remains in her state of purity. We still assume it to be a psula. Avapi Shegodla, even though she is older than 3. Abal Bitoi, somebody who violates his daughter, Abbas Bitoi, his daughter's daughter. Abbas Beno, his son's daughter, Abbas Ishto, his wife's daughter. Abbas Beno, her son's daughter. Abbas Bito, her daughter's daughter. Ein Laim Knas, they do not get a Knas. Bipnei Shin is Chayiv Benafshe, because he is liable the death penalty. Shimon Bidei based him. And anybody who is high of capital punishment doesn't know money. The pasuk says, we discussed this earlier, but that only if there's no fatality, then you're going to get punishment. But if there is a fatality, you don't get the punishment of paying money. Rabbi Yochanan says, sorry, give me 1 second. Okay. Rabbi Yochanan says, Rabbi Dosa said the same thing. Rabbi Huda Hadamra, what Rabbi Huda and Rabbi Dosa said the same thing. Rabbi Huda, as we said, that a captive remains in her state of kedusha. Rabbi Dosa, what Rabbi Dosa, the Tanya has been into the Baisa. Shuvya oicheles betruma. Is shuvya, a captive woman still could eat truma? Div Rabbi Dosa. She's still tired, right? Div Rabbi Dosa. What exactly did this Arab do to her? Just because he fondled her breasts, possibly in a kuna, does it make got that on camera? How pretentious is it to have a picture of yourself in your office? Maybe time to take this down. But this is a beautiful painting. To my sister Mushka who painted this. If anybody wants artwork done, link in the description. Whew. What exactly did this Arab do to her? Why should she become puzzled just because of this? Okay. Amar Rabba. Rabba says, "V'dimalohi." It's not necessarily the case. Why? Because I can like Rabbi Yehuda. Maybe they're not necessarily agreeing on the same thing. Maybe Rabbi Yehuda is only saying that she has to pay the knas in order that Rabbi Yehuda is only saying that she still gets the knas, only that the sinner shouldn't benefit. But he's not. He wouldn't say to the degree that she could still have truma. Awal Hasan, but in the case of truma, Karban and Srile, maybe holds like Rabbanon, Inami, or you could say I can like Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Daisa Hasan Ela Truma Rabban. Could hold that Rabbi Daisa only hold that in Batruma Rabbanon. However, Knas Daraisa, however, since Knas, which is Daraisa, Karban and Srile, maybe he holds like Rabbanon. Okay. Now we're going to ask Abayo. Abayo says to Rabbo, do you want to say that the time Rabbi Yehuda Hacha, that the reason of Rabbi Yehuda's opinion, Rabbi Yehuda's reasoning over here is that the sinner should not benefit. Tanya, we learn that Rabbi Yehuda Omer Shivya Shinitis Hayahi Biktushaso Afilu Bas Eshishanim Vasayim. And even if she was 10 years old, Kesubos 200. So we see that Rabbi Yehuda is holding the Kedusha. He's not only holding a Kedusha in the case of Knas in order that the sinner should get off more free. He's even holding that she's going to get a full Ksuba. Hasanami. So Rabbi answers that yes, maybe Rabbi Yehuda is only saying that Dilma Memani V'lo Nasi. Because maybe if you only were to give her the ksuba of a non-basula, she wouldn't get married. And therefore, we're going to give her this higher ksuba in order to encourage people to marry her so people shouldn't feel like they're getting second-class citizens. However, Rabbi Yehuda would not hold like Rabbi Doisa, who says that she goes so far as to eating truma. Okay. So, Rabbi Yehuda Bikdushasa Kaimo. Does Rabbi Yehuda really hold that she remains in a state of purity? V'hatanya, just taught in a brayso, hapoides hashuvyo, yiso eno, that one who ransoms a female, he could marry her. Okay. Meiba lo yiso eno. However, if he was made, if he testifies that she was not violated, he cannot marry her. We're talking about if he's a kohen. If he's a kohen, because a kohen can't marry her. Okay? Kohen cannot marry a girl who was violated. In fact, yeah. Okay. A kohen who marries, a kohen or anybody who redeems a captive may marry her. Made by a kohen, if he gave testimony on her that she was not violated, he can't marry her because we assume that maybe his testimony is going to be a bit tainted, he's going to be a bit biased. Rabbi Yehuda holds, regardless, he cannot marry her. Okay. So we see. So why are we saying Rabbi Yehuda holds that she's in a state of purity? The Mishnah says Rabbi Yehuda says she's in a state of purity. Over here, it seems like she's not in a state of purity. Okay, before we get to that, the Gemara is going to ask questions about Hoguf Kasha or the Brisa in and of itself is difficult to understand. Why? Because first you say first you said somebody who ransoms her, he could marry her. Then the Brisa came and taught that made ba lo yisen, or if he was testified for her that she's told her he can't marry her. Hold on. Mishum de made ba lo yisen, it doesn't make sense that because a kohen testifies her, he cannot marry her. If he redeemed her, you could say he marries her. So now that he started testifying, he should have just kept his mouth shut. Right? So Halikasha, Hachikama. So no, this is exactly what's going on. Somebody who's paid her and somebody who redeems her. Basically, she needs. If a kohen is going to redeem her, she's going to need to aid him. Forget that actually. Anyway, if you're made by or somebody who redeems her and is made for her, he could marry her. However, a maid bakadi, if he just testified against her, they can't marry her. Okay, so the reasoning is because if you gave money and you married her, we presume that the fact that you gave money, you were much more diligent into ascertaining that she wasn't violated. If you just made, easy. You could just say things. Talk is cheap. But if you paid towards it, we assume that you did a little bit of investigation. Therefore, we're actually going to believe you, and therefore, can marry her. Okay. Now that's what the Brisa is saying. Fine. But now we go back to our question of Rabbi Huda. The Mishnah seems to say that Rabbi Huda holds that a captive remains in a state of purity, and and here we're saying that he holds not. Or a papa, so we change the Brisa to say either way, whether he paid for it or not, he could marry her. Really, it is no the way you talk. We're not going to change it. He's saying Rabbi Huda is saying, according to you, Rabbanon, this is what you should say. According to me, as I said, I hold that she always remains in a state of purity. He could marry her. But according to you, if we worry that she's not in the state of kedusha, either way, he should not marry her. What's the difference? If she is, if we're concerned about his eidos, well, if we presume that she actually was violated, and therefore we need eidos, and we are concerned about his eidos, then he shouldn't be able to marry her. So Rabbanan, I'll probably should be made by saying, the reason why the Rabbanan said that I just said before, the reason why the Rabbanan said that if you redeem her, if you pay for her, then you could marry her. People don't throw away their money for nothing. If he only gave eidos without anything else, he doesn't have to. He can't marry her because Shema Ein Bar. Maybe he has an art towards her and he's not being extremely honest. Okay, we're going to end there. That is the end of Daf Lamed Vav over base. I think we'll try this format where we just do one. Amud. Now I'm just getting. I think this is Moshe. Okay, close Moshe. Interact with the fan. First of all, thank you for joining. Second of all, the Mamish came at the end, so I'm about to close the book. So, in terms of interacting, do they have super chats? Google started saying super chat. You pay $5 and the chat comes up at the top. So, I interact with you. If you have any questions, I'm here to answer them. Otherwise, have a good night. And you always have my, I'm not sure what you have. You can always write in the comments and I'll get to them. Thank you and have a good night, everybody.